Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone is doing great. I'm doing fantastic. My name is Kepra, and today we're going to go right into what we're going to talk about: astrology and fasting. Um, we may break this video up into a 2 or 3 part series. We'll see how it goes. I really want to try to keep each video under a certain time. I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you watching. But I find that videos tend to run a little long, and we definitely want to keep the information concise, to the point, quick. Okay, so without further ado, astrology and fasting. Well, most of us will fast based on the astrology of the year, meaning when we look at our sun system, we may fast with either the solstice or the equinox. We see that as a natural shift, and with that shift, the body will go into a natural detoxification, just based on the shift of the sun. So why is this ideal and important? Well, because again, our body is naturally going into a natural detox, and we're really trying to take advantage of that detox by assisting the body, allowing the body to do what it's naturally doing even better. So that's why we fast on those key times of the year. Within a year, we have moon cycles where the moon goes from new moon to full moon and back to new moon. Now, I mention this because females, especially females who are in their birth cycle, in terms of when they can give birth to a child, they have the release of the unfertilized egg, which is also associated with a detox, because the body will bleed based on how toxic the body is. So again, if you're eating a very clean diet and have a very healthy lifestyle, the bleeding will be minimal to none. Versus if you have a very toxic lifestyle, and you again, the food you eat and the lack of activity, you'll have heavy bleeding, cramping, PMS, etc. And that will lead to further issues down the road. So we have these cycles. And again, even for our 3-month cycle, where we have the shift between solstice and equinox, we can think of those the same way that a 28-day female cycle works. So even for us men, when we move into the we're in August right now, so next month we have the autumn equinox. So during that time, however we ate for the last 3 months will determine the level of toxicity during that time, which will show up in detoxification reactions. That could be the flu, that could be nausea, headache, fatigue, low energy, etc. So we definitely, I find that in those months, September, December, winter solstice, March, the vernal spring equinox, and then June, the summer solstice. Those times of the year, people, I think, just from my experience, I've noticed that people tend to get have more detoxification reactions, i.e., sickness and disease, more so than the other months. I don't think it's not a coincidence that because of the shift that's happening in our solar system, again, accompanies those sickness and diseases at those times of the year. And then within our month cycle, we have our week cycle, which is what we will really hone in on with this video series, because each day of the week is associated with a primary planet in our solar system. Sun, Sunday, Moon, Monday, Mars, Tuesday, Mercury is Wednesday, Jupiter is Thursday, Venus is Friday, and Saturn, Saturday. So that is the primary energy that we're dealing with, and what we like to look at ultimately is we'll go into what particular day of the week would be best for you. So we're going to look at some of the pros and cons. So we'll get into the astrological meaning and purpose and energy of each day, and you'll be able to determine what day of the week is best for you. Now looking at astrology as we go back to our system, I just wanted to take this time to discuss the system that I use and why I use it. And I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Now, there are two main systems of astrology that are in use today. One is what we use here, which is called tropical astrology or Western astrology, and the other is called Sidereal Astrology. There's other terms for it: Hindu astrology, Vedic astrology. I'll use Sidereal Astrology. Tropical. When we look at tropical astrology, tropical comes from the Greek, and essentially it means turning point. Now, why is that important? And when we look at how, because we're going to go back and look how each system evolved or devolved, and hopefully that will shed light onto each system, and then even for your own personal use in terms of if you're into astrology and you follow it in terms of helping to map your life, then hopefully this can definitely shed some light for you to do your own investigation. Now, tropical turning point. Now, when we look at the difference between tropical, we start there because at that turning point is associated with the vernal equinox. Why the vernal equinox? Well, the vernal equinox represents a time where, one, it's like our spring season. Definitely in the northern hemisphere, there's a turning point from darkness to light, or sleep and wake, or life or death and then life. So it made sense for them at that time that at that point, March 21st, that the sun in relation to the earth was moving into the constellation of Aries. Okay? Now, forget about what is happening in the heavens. That was the science. That was the logic. Now, sidereal astrology. Sidereal comes from the Latin word for stars, or sidus, and it means, sidereal essentially means determined by the stars. Now, and essentially what that means is like we're basically looking at where the planets are in relation to the heavens or the constellations. So really, sidereal astrology is one that is in sync with an astronomer's view of the constellations, not what is fixed at that point, no matter where the planets are in the solar system. So I guess the question now is, why is it different, or why is that significant? Well, at one point in our history, the vernal equinox was linked with the sun moving into the constellation of Aries. Now, why is it different now? Well, what happens is that the Earth is constantly spinning, and because of that spinning motion, there's a wobble. And we call that wobble, the phenomena is known as the precession of the equinox. And what's interesting about it is that the equinox, which we relate to almost as like a starting point, it will proceed through each constellation in about every 2,000 to 2,100 years. Why is that? Well, because of that wobble, every 71.5 years, there's a shift 1 degree backwards. So if you multiply that, each constellation represents 30 degrees. So you multiply 30 times 71.5, and you actually get 2,145 years. So every 2,145 years, the equinox is moving through a constellation. And that is how we get an age, or is also known in astrology as a great month. So when we talk about, a lot of people like to think that we are now either entering or we're in the age of Aquarius. Now this all ties in because in our sidereal system, the vernal equinox is now in the constellation of Pisces. So we can make an argument that we're actually in the age of Pisces, and that at some point in our future we will be in the vernal equinox would be associated with Aquarius, and therefore be in the age of Aquarius. So this is significant because, number one, we're more, again, in tune with the present age that we're in, number one. Number two, in terms of fine-tuning or being closer in tune with our heavens, that's going to definitely help us down here on Earth. As above, so below. So the more in tune, the more right and exact that we have the proper information, then that will again translate into our movements, our health, our vitality, our decision making, etc., etc. So with that said, just to recap, again, Sidereal Astrology or Vedic Astrology is the true proper system because it's taken into consideration our constellation, our stars. It's not fixing the vernal equinox with the constellation or with the sign. It's not even fixing it with the constellation because we don't have control of the heavens. So basically someone said, okay, we're going to control our system and say the sun, no matter what, is going to be entering in the first sign of Aries March 21st, no matter what. And again, we have our natural ages, and that's where our ages come from. Our ages, our great month, or our 2,000, 2,100 year cycle happens because of our Earth's tilt, its natural tilt and wobble as it spins around the sun. So the other thing, one of the other big differences between sidereal astrology and tropical astrology, with the discovery of the outer planets, as I like to call them, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, those planets have, if anything, a distant secondary influence on us. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say they don't have any influence at all. No. But they don't have nowhere near the primary influence that our 7 main planets have: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and the Sun, of course. So those are, you know, and there's no coincidence that those formulate the days of our week. Again, we have our year cycle, we have our month cycle, you know, which again is affiliated. You know, the moon is the mother of the zodiac, or the mother of our solar system. And again, that's why, you know, women have that natural 28-day cycle. And then we have a week cycle. And, you know, in terms of our week, well, we're going to save that for the second part of the video. And I'm going to talk more about fasting. And we're going to go into the astrology of using the energies of the day of the week. Because, you know, fasting one day a week is a very powerful practice. Something that you should definitely consider implementing into your life, and will, you know, you shouldn't necessarily pick the day of the week as a random occurrence. Nothing, however, is random. You want to use this information to say, okay, this is the particular day. You know, you may use a day because of your schedule, which is fine. However, you know, you may want to shift things around if you had more information. So we'll go into that in the second part. Hopefully we'll see you there.